Welcome to this new video on inseam pockets. By inseam, it is meant that the pocket requires a seam for it to get set into. It could be done into the side seam of a garment like a skirt or shorts or trousers. Even your denim jeans have the same pocket. It could also be placed into a princess line seam of a dress. To get an accurate pocket, we will need to work on a plan and also make a brown paper pattern or a pattern on white paper. So let us understand what are the measurements that we need to take to arrive at a ready sample size of 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters. Which means after stitching it up, the sample has to be 30 centimeters by 30 centimeters like this. And I'm assuming that this is the side seam of a skirt or a trouser or shorts, and this is the waist. So there is some seam allowances also to be taken here. We will need to cut two pieces for the sample because there is a seam. So one piece and second piece. The size for this is length is 30 centimeters and width of each piece is 16 centimeters, which is 15 centimeter plus 1 centimeter, which will go into this seam. The pocket bag also will have two pieces of the bag fabric. We are going to use a different color and a different weight of material because we don't want to add as much bulk as that of the fashion fabric. So the pocket bag is made in a lighter material. And the size of this will be, we will need to cut two pieces to begin with, and each of the piece will be 24 centimeters by 14 centimeters. Why 24? Because this is 22. You will need 1 centimeter seam allowance and 1 centimeter seam allowance. So 24 centimeters. And the width is 12 centimeters ready of the bag. And we will add plus 1 and plus 1 on this side and plus 1 on this side. So the pocket bag pieces will be 24 centimeters in length and 14 centimeters in width for cutting purpose. So if you look here itself, this black line represents the actual sample size. The red line is representing the pocket bag. And the pocket bag, you can see, has two parts here. One is the pocket bag and the second is the inlay. Now inlay is the portion that is made out of the outer fabric, that is the sample fabric. If you see, this is the inlay. This is the inlay. So inlay must be the same, unless of course planned for design reasons. Inlay must be the same fabric as that of the outer shell fabric of the garment. The pocket bag pieces, the two pieces need different treatment from one another. So piece number 1 requires you to cut it of the size of the lip curve plus seam allowance of half a centimeter to 0.75 of a centimeter. And the inner pocket bag, the one that is under, can be the same entire rectangle on which the inlay can be just pasted. It can be just sewn on top using a lapped seam. Or if the bulk of the fabric needs to be reduced, then we even cut it off. You could do it both ways. In this particular case, I am taking the rectangle and taking the inlay piece and placing it over this and stitching it here with a lapped seam. You can see that there are seam allowances on each side, and these seam allowances are all 1 centimeter. Everywhere on the side seam also there was 1 centimeter, and except for this lip curve, which is 0.5 or 0.75, the rest of the seam allowances are taken as all 1 centimeter. Two pieces of the main fabric have been cut on straight grain with a seam allowance of 1 centimeter up here and 1 centimeter on the side seam. Using the pocket bag material, which was lighter, cut 2 layers to form the rectangles as was discussed in the paper plan. The pattern you can see has two parts to it, and I will be cutting them apart now. This pocket bag this shape is going to be used for one of the bags, and for the second bag there is a different pattern that we will use. We will use the entire rectangle that we had, this entire rectangle we have, and we will paste the inlay portion onto that one. With the two pocket bag pieces together, now separate them out and place the brown paper pattern of the pocket bag over one of the pieces with the distance of 1 centimeter from the edge. And now mark this curve, and after marking the curve on the fabric, add a seam allowance of 0.7 of a centimeter along this curve and cut. Place the inlay piece on straight grain. Not only I require this just as a line, as a reference line. I am not really going to use it, but I require to make my sizing bigger so that I get enough inlay that goes under the pocket lip. So once I have this, I will be adding 3.5 centimeter to the 3.5 centimeter to the width that I have marked right now. I need 2.5 and 3.5. 2.5 is the fitting line or the seam line, and 3.5 is your cutting line. So 2.5 and 3.5, and I am just making the two lines more continuous. Now you can see the inlay, actual inlay was just this much size, but I have been able to increase because I want a overlap and 1 centimeter for stitching it up. We can cut this. This is placed with 1 centimeter allowance here, 1 centimeter here, and this excess that you see is the overlap between the lip and the inlay, so that when you put your hand or the pocket is open like this, the lower pocket bag fabric does not peep out. So two pocket bags are cut. You can see one is a complete rectangle that I have, and the other has the pocket lip curve marked over it. And I've already cut, the inlay piece. Now this inlay piece is going to be applied to the right side of the pocket bag. This is the right side, and so this is going to be applied like this over there. Here I'm going to use a lap seam. So here are the two sample pieces, and here is the pocket bag, and I need the same curve to be cut here as well. So after this is done, the bias strip is going to be applied onto this right side of the bias facing right side of the sample. I will be applying the bias facing at the 0.7 seam allowance that we had kept here. Once the seam is done, we can remove this excess, and we have to slash deep till the seam so that the bias facing can settle. And the next step, is the top stitching, which is done on 3 layers. Actually 4 layers over here, which is the 3 layers, one of pocket bag, one of the sample, and one of the facing, and then the rest of the facing. It's a good idea to first iron it, and then under stitching is done over the fold. The under machining is done, and I have trimmed the seam allowance now to 0.5 and removed any unevenness that may have existed here. Now you can iron it and fold it nicely inside, and make sure you do a regular size fold here with ironing, and then you can pin baste it, and it can be machine stitched, or if it is a couture garment, you may hem it with hand. I personally love the clean finish that hand hemming can bring, though it's not as sturdy as doing a machine stitch. I've hand hemmed it here. It could also have been machined like it's been done in this one, And now I will finish this with a lapped seam. It's a good idea to notch it so that you're able to turn it inside neatly. It will only give you a good curve once you have notched it like this. You may iron it and then pin baste it. This will be now machine stitched using a lap seam here. Now all these pieces are ready to be put together. How it has to be placed, you can see that there is an overlap that is created with the 2.5 centimeter extra that we had taken in the inlay, and this is what is going to keep the pocket bag fabric not visible from the outside when you see or put your hand here. So as long as your seam is in line here, in line, your pocket bag is placed quite well, you can pin it up together. The next one seam at 1 centimeter, and I'll do a second seam at 0.75 because I don't have an overlock machine. So I've done 2 rows of machining like this, and any unevenness that may have come now can be trimmed off and removed so that the edge is absolutely clean. Very carefully place the two sample pieces one over the other with the seam lines coinciding, and now you can pin them up. Make sure the pocket is in place and has not slipped away, and pin up into 3 places. Remove any unevenness in the seam to clean up the sample. Seam allowance here. Anything that is unevenly peeping out, you may just trim it away a little bit. And now a machine stitch at 1 centimeter allowance to hold the pocket in place over here. Otherwise, the sample will keep opening up. Ideally, this would go into the waistband of the shorts or the skirt, whatever. But right now we are going to machine stitch it. There were 2 ways of applying the inlay to the pocket bag material. You can see over here that the inlay is stitched with the same curve of the pocket bag, thereby not contributing to any bulk in this area. So if the fashion fabric was a heavier fabric, this is the method that would be used. But in case the fashion fabric is like, it's the cambric that I've used here, and so you can see in this particular one, as I'm showing you the wrong side, the pocket bag has the inlay pasted over it. You can see the entire pocket bag, and here you can see that the inlay and pocket bag have been seamed together. The pocket is ready, and let me put my hand through it and show it to you here. It's deep enough, it's wide enough, it's squared. You could change this shape. The facing you can see is nicely done, and there is adequate depth of the inlay. The pocket is looking beautifully settled. If you have enjoyed this video on inseam pocket, then do like, share and subscribe. And if you wish to receive further notifications, then do press the bell icon as well. Bye bye and see you soon.